Hey guys, Marissa here. Welcome back to the channel. Today I wanted to share with you my first monthly roundup of 2020. Now, if you have not seen one of these videos before, they are basically a catch-all video where I kind of wrap up the month. I talk a little bit about the content I was creating. I talk about some favorite things from the month, what I did that month, that sort of thing. And we're gonna go ahead and just get right into it, but I did want to mention that we are having a massive wind storm today. So if you hear flapping things, I'm gonna try and pause if my overhang here starts going crazy, but if you hear flapping like that, apologies, and that's what's going on. Let's go ahead and start off with the content that I created in January, and I will say that January was a pretty good month as creating wind. I made a bit of a comeback here on the channel, starting off with my kind of 2020 check-in, reading plans, channel plans, goals type video, and don't worry, I will link all of the videos in the description box and in the cards for you guys as well. I then shared my 2020 bullet journal setup video, which was very long. I did not realize how much footage I had until I started cutting it down and then just couldn't condense anymore. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that video. I also realized while editing that video that I did not like the audio very much. So when I do future bullet journal videos, I'm gonna try and use more of a voiceover with my microphone thing. So we'll see how that goes. I'm gonna try it for February's bullet journal video and we shall see. But of course, any feedback is whoop, there goes the wind, is very much appreciated. The last video I shared here on the channel in January was a video chatting about what I read back all the way back in November of 2019 for Nonfiction November. We talked through my thoughts on Ronan Farrow's Catch and Kill and Shortest Way Home by Pete Buttigieg, and I also put on my makeup at the same time. Not necessarily for entertainment value, simply because I was multitasking. I also revamped my Patreon account in January and started the practice of putting up monthly patron exclusive videos. Now, as I say that, January's video is a little bit late. It's gonna be coming out in the next couple of days, but if you are interested, what I talked about for the January video was getting back into the habit of reading fiction after about 2 years off where I read almost exclusively nonfiction. So if you would like to see that video and more videos like that, you can go on over to my Patreon account. The link is in the description box below, and consider becoming a patron. Anyways, plug over. So that was the content that I created for kind of public consumption in January, but I also did a lot of other creating during the month, which made me very happy because, again, that's something I did not get to do pretty much at all in 2019. I spent a lot of time doodling in my bullet journal, which I guess technically oop, there goes the wind again. Technically you guys will see, but I was just having a lot of fun with it, and I'm really glad I decided to go a slightly more artistic, doodly route this year. Because it's winter, it's also still cool enough here in Southern California where I have been enjoying different kinds of yarn craft. I have, of course, been knitting. I am almost done with my very first sweater, and then I also crocheted for the first time in probably 10 years. This month, I am creating a little cat stuffy for one of my friends who actually redesigned my my channel logo, the new little spider logo. You can see it better on my Patreon account. She designed that for me for free, so I decided to make her a little cat stuffy, and I have only finished the head because I'm not very good at crochet, having not done it for 10 years, but it was fun to kind of get back into that craft and remember that you can actually do a lot of different things with crochet than you can with knitting, so that has been a lot of fun. Socially, I feel like I didn't do a whole lot in the month of January. To be completely honest, the whole month kind of flew by, and it's very surprising to me that we are already in February, hence my patron video is late. I kind of feel like I lost a week in there somehow. However, one thing I did do in January was go to a local museum here in Orange County and see an exhibition of art by Arthur Beaumont. Arthur Beaumont was the artist laureate, I believe, of the US Navy fleet, starting back around World War II. He did a lot of kind of depictions of different major naval battles. He did a bit of propaganda work for the Navy. He actually was present when they were testing out the atomic bombs before actual use in war. They didn't allow any actual photographers to be present. However, he was there kind of quickly painting out what was going on, and I found that incredibly fascinating. I think there were two reasons why I really connected with his art and why I found it so beautiful. Number one, I just really like depictions of ocean and water, and I think what you can really see in Beaumont's art is the fact that he was actually out sailing. You know, he knew how boats moved. He knew what it looked like to have ocean spray in your face, and I think they're far more realistic than an artist who maybe would have imagined what a naval scene might have looked like. You can really feel the movement, and you can feel how real it is. The other reason I really like his painting is that it definitely falls more along the lines of impressionistic versus realistic. And this is going to sound very snooty, but I personally feel that the Impressionist era of art is my absolute favorite. I was an art history minor in college, took a whole class on just the Impressionists, and it is my all-time favorite art. So I really liked that. I also really liked that he was able to get so much movement and so much texture out of watercolor. I found that incredibly fascinating, and I feel bad kind of describing this to you guys, as you can't go see the exhibit anymore. But again, please feel free to Google some of his artwork. Even if you're not necessarily into like military art, I still think you might find it incredibly beautiful, and I was glad to discover a new artist in January. What was that? And then lastly, I wanted to talk you guys through some favorite things I discovered in January. I do have 3 like film or TV related things, but I will save those to the end and start with a really random one, which is a leave-in hair conditioner. This is the Cannabis Sativa Hemp Seed Oil Lush Length Light Leave-In, holy moly, by Shea Moisture. That is a long name. Wow, I did not realize that when I bought it. Anyways, this is a leave-in conditioner that you just can spray into your damp hair, or if you have dry hair like I do now, you could literally just spray it into your palm, and it's very thin and like liquidy, and you could just, you know, squeeze it through. Actually, I don't think I've had my hair this long since the end of high school maybe, so I have kind of forgotten how to take care of long hair, and I noticed my ends and everything were looking quite dry and shriveled, and I think that's because I've been using more heat on it since it is winter and I don't want to go to bed with soaking wet hair. Long story short, I needed a new conditioner. I don't like heavy creams. I find they just don't really work in my hair. I have very weird textured hair, mixed girl problems. So I like that it's light. I like that it works. It doesn't really have a lingering smell, which I also appreciate as someone with very sensitive olfactory glands. And yeah, just I would really recommend this. I can't believe I just said olfactory glands. Wow. Nerd. Continuing with the completely random favorites, one thing I really want to work on this year is improving my posture. Now I know my posture at work is great because we have new ergonomic chairs and desks. We can do sit stand, all that good stuff. But I know for a fact that when I come home and work at my desk, my computer posture is terrible. This might be true for anyone who stares at a screen for long periods of time or does video editing, but every time I sit at my desk at my laptop, I kind of just end up in this weird curled over posture, and it's just not good for my neck. I might have been able to get away with it when I was like 20, but now that I'm going on 29 in September, I definitely feel it the day after. So what I invested in to improve my posture is a wireless keyboard and mouse. And this I really like, not only because it allows me to have more correct arm posture on my desk, but also because it has a number pad. And that's one thing that's always annoyed me about Mac laptops, is that you have to use that like awkward little number bar up at the top of the keyboard. I find this much more useful, especially when I need to work from home. It's a lot easier to use this because I do a lot of data entry at my job. And then the main reason I wanted one like this is that it is rechargeable, meaning I don't have to go through a bunch of single-use batteries in order to use this guy. And finally, 2 favorite films and TV shows. My favorite film from January 2020 was 1917, directed by Sam Mendes. Now this is kind of everywhere right now because it got nominated for 8, 10, something like that, Oscars, and I'm hoping that it does really, really well. This was an absolutely amazing experience of a film. It is shot in these long, like about 8-minute tracking shots, which they then cut together in post, but it basically feels like one long tracking shot, and there's really only one moment right in the middle of the film where you kind of get a break as an audience, like where it cuts to black or where it cuts to the next scene. But otherwise, it feels like you're just in one long continuous moment with the characters. And just in case you don't know what it's basically about two British soldiers who get tapped to go on kind of this impossible mission to cross enemy lines in order to get to their to the next regiment or set of troops, to warn them off going on the offensive because they're going to be walking into a trap. It is harrowing. It is so tense. It kind of reminded me of Dunkirk in the sense that when I first saw Dunkirk in theaters, because of just the overall tension of the film plus the soundtrack, I almost felt like I was going to have a panic attack. Like it created that much drama. This very much replicated that feeling, and I was very impressed because I did not ever think that another film would give me that feeling again. So if you like military films, if you like amazing cinematography, and you are able to find 1917 still in a theater near you, I would highly, highly recommend that you go see it. Just be warned that parts of it are quite gruesome, so don't be ashamed to kind of watch through one eye. There were a few scenes where I kind of had to watch like this just because it was so tense, but it was absolutely phenomenal. I went to go see it with my dad and my brother, and both of them absolutely loved it. So this is a definite favorite from January. As I predicted going into the film, watching 1917 really just put me in the mood for World War I era stories and or British historical dramas. So I have watched a couple of shows that I really, really enjoyed. First of all is The Crimson Field. The Crimson Field was a historical drama put out by the BBC during their World War I centennium celebration, or series of programs. It is about a field hospital, a British field hospital located in France that treats men coming directly off the front lines, and it follows a bunch of volunteer nurses or nurses with the VAD and all of the surgeons there, all the orderlies, and just kind of life at this field hospital. And unfortunately, it is a very short series. There are only 6 episodes and it only got the 1 season, but it is a phenomenal, phenomenal show. Yes, there is one kind of stereotypical romance going on that I didn't really feel that invested in. However, the rest of the show I really, really enjoyed. I love all of the characters, and I really liked the different friendships that formed. I liked that it was very nuanced, and I thought it gave a really good glimpse into kind of British society and kind of social structure during the First World War, which admittedly I knew very little about. It kind of explores the relationship between professional nurses and the volunteer nurses, between the male doctors and orderlies, and these women who are kind of in this very male sphere, you know, literally in the middle of a war. It also touches a bit on things like class, homosexuality in the area, the role that a woman had in her own marriage in the era. It also touches a bit on like Ireland versus England and, you know, that whole dynamic. So there's just a lot going on in the show. Again, it's only 6 episodes, so you wouldn't think it would be able to cover as much as it did, but I really thoroughly enjoyed it, and would highly recommend that you watch The Crimson Field if you're at all interested in this era of British history. And then the last show I want to talk about has nothing to do with World War I, and that is The Witcher on Netflix. Now, obviously, this is the new hit series starring Henry Cavill, and to be completely honest, I wanted to watch it initially for Henry Cavill. However, my brother has played some of the games, and so he gave me a bit of a rundown on kind of the general idea of The Witcher before I started watching the series, which also increased my interest. So I would just say that if you are interested in good fantasy shows, I think this is one to watch. Again, I didn't really know much about the world of The Witcher going into the series, so I will admit that I'm still slightly confused about the magic system. At first I thought it was like an elemental kind of energy in, energy out sort of thing, but it doesn't always follow that pattern, so I'm slightly confused. But I will just say that the costuming is fantastic, the world is very cool. The different episodes, I feel like you kind of get a really good sense of the greater world that they're existing in, that the characters are existing in. And if you have watched the whole thing, the twist that kind of happens towards the last like 3-ish episodes, it kind of took me by surprise. So I would say it's a very well written show. The special effects, the monster supernatural being element to it, I've seen worse. I've also seen better. But again, it was thoroughly enjoyable. I believe they're already signed for 2 more seasons, so I'm very excited. However, I think we have to wait till 2021 for the next one. So it was one of those shows that when my brother and I binge watched the last like 4 together, last 4 episodes, and when the last episode ended, we were both like, how long till the next season? So I think that's the mark of a good show, and again, I would highly recommend it to all of you guys. So that was me rounding up January 2020, and I want to say a huge thank you to you guys because you really made my month. It's always scary taking time off of YouTube because there is just so much content out there these days that it's kind of a wonder that anybody watches my channel at all, and to think that there were so many of you guys who actually left really kind comments saying, I really missed your content. That was it really made me feel very good, and I very much appreciate those comments, and they are one of the reasons I keep coming back even when I do end up taking a bit of time off. I would love to know what you guys were up to in the month of January, or if you have a particular favorite, please feel free to leave me a comment down below. But otherwise, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you're having a fantastic day, and I will see you next time. Bye!